typical Monday. And they get out from all my crazy stuff, and I get 10 phone calls. It's like, I don't get this many phone calls. It's ridiculous. Whatever. Anyhow, I'll call this public safety meeting this evening at whatever time. Thank you. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance to Wisconsin statutes. It is here. Thank you. You notice my incompleteness. Let me start over again. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, section 19.83 and 19.84 in such form that were raised to the general public in news media of subject matter that is intended for discussion and action. And all people are here this evening except for Mr. Hudson, who has been excused from last meeting. And our two officers or chiefs are not here this evening also, per se. So, we have anything public comment? Anybody? Deanna, do you know if, nobody? Very good. Thank you. Approval of our minutes from last month, please. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments in regard to the minutes themselves? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. And did you have a chance to look over the Germantown Fire Department as an example? Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions in general per se that I can pass on thereafter and get answers back to you? No. Kind of indirect way of doing it, but whatever, it's best I can do.
Asked a lot of questions last month.
Right, they were good ones too. I had not heard those answers. And about the police department, anything with that? Anything either per se. And policy updates.
Motion to approve policy update.
Right. The continuation of the ones that we had. May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, and as you know, these are ones that are out there, and they've updated them per se, and just for the records that they need to do, such so. Is there any particular one that you saw, any additional questions in general, regardless if they changed it or not? And if you don't see any, all those in favor of them accepting item C?
Aye.
Thank you. Those opposed? No. Fire department? See none there. Unfinished business? None. Here we are to new business, and we've been in this situation before. And you comment if you want to, or otherwise we'll just go forward.
I do have a question. So, statute says that no, they are not allowed to have an operator's license if they have a felony. But then there is a whole lot of that reference exceptions for felons to have an operator.
So the way we typically describe it is what the statute says is that if you felony conviction, actual law caveat or the big asterisk next to that, the statute itself references a bunch of discrimination sections. So it's like chapter 1, something like that. Sounds right, yes. And so
That's good cover the first three.
Look at those sections. Effectively, what the sections say is that you can't discriminate against somebody because of their conviction record. So what that means at the end of the day, or short version, is you can't discriminate somebody with a conviction unless it relates to the that you So in this case, you are liquor license, and so if the conviction relates to pending bar or serving alcohol, then you can do. Now, question obviously then becomes, what is to sense of any particular conviction? That's where I think sometimes, and Mike, no, I should say, is not Chiefs struggle with that. It is or isn't. So let me have a drunk driving conviction or multiple drunk driving convictions such that you have a felony. Arguably, that related to serving alcohol, because it shows poor decision making when it comes to dealing. Similarly, a obstructing officer ticket may relate to those circumstances because expecting your license holders to be cooperative and helpful with investigate. Say there was, some bad at the bar. It becomes a little less clear when it becomes things like this evening, who has a manufacturing of cocaine conviction. Certainly is a controlled substance, while alcohol itself is not a controlled substance, are both fairly well regulated. And I think most police chiefs would tell you that in the opinion, those are related activities, that they're both, because of the regulations involved with them, somebody who is making questionable choices as it relates to narcotics probably is willing to make those same questionable choices as it relates to alcohol.
There's also subsection of 11135 F or H, which states you should take in consideration how long ago the crime happened, if there have been any other instances behavior since then, which I can tell you there's not. I did go on CCAP to see any other crimes associated with alcohol, anything. Even if this person hasn't even over since, I think it's like 20 years we're on. 2002, right?
2004, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, certainly CCAP is not going to tell you all of the conviction records because it's Wisconsin only. So you may have citation for example, that would. Now, a drunk driving conviction would show up as part of the background check that the police department does. It's more in depth.
Right.
Presumably, he highlighted something that was related to this person. So my understanding is, and to that end, I tend to agree with you that certainly at the end of the day, I've always said that licensing always is your discretion. That does it apply to the circumstances? Is this somebody that we're licensed to in our, and factors that go into that of violation comes into play by that reference to Chapter 11. So it's not quite as cut and dry as the sound. Certainly, if you have the determination that it is something that is related, is applicable.
I was going to say that what you brought up is one of the reasons that I look at. The other reason that area that I look at is, where are the employees? Is it a bar? This one here is a Cracker Barrel. That's a large change. They do the homework. So if it's okay with them, it's okay with me. That's my feeling.
The only caution I ever give in those circumstances is recognizing that the license is not specific to the grant a bartender's
No,
license.
I understand that.
Anywhere in the city.
Correct. But she's applying to the waitress at a Cracker Barrel, at a restaurant that I would take my children to. Her crime was from 2002. We're going on 20 years of that person being convicted of a crime. It has nothing to do with alcohol. You can put those two in the same boat, but they're not. Manufacturing cocaine and alcohol are two separate things. And the fact that she has not been in trouble since 2002, we're going on almost years. This is a no-brainer to me. Motion to approve. Would I do a motion to?
Yeah, you just a motion to approve the issuance of the license.
Okay, motion to approve the issuance of a operator's license to Crystal McCoy.
I'll second.
And I thank you, Brian, for explaining this further to us as such, because this does come up quite frequently as such. The reason and the reason that I gave are one person to look at. If it's a long time in between, and then the place. Any other questions? But thank you again, sir.
I think that Brian stated that there may be some investigation that Chief Snow would have done at.
Right, he
and
does the
not
criminal background.
written In the little board, just keeping it simple. And I have to trust that. And I do recall that we recently approved a Class B license for alcohol to Cracker Barrel. So they are, where they weren't before serving alcohol, they are now. So,
I haven't been there for a long time myself, so I wasn't
no,
aware
it
of that.
came over through the board.
No, I understand,
Yeah,
but I'm just
I
saying,
know.
I had,
But, and I do believe in supporting people that are trying to get jobs and things like that. There are a tremendous amount of jobs available right now that do not include restaurateur type things where alcohol is served. So I would, I believe that Chief Snow has accessibility to other records that perhaps we're not seeing.
being on the Police and Fire Commission that I was 15 years, Germantown, and knowing what they do on the background checks and so on and so forth, yes, it is extensive. Same thing I asked, or whoever was chairperson for public safety in the past, whenever we had these renewals for, I always ask, do you have any problems, either one of the chiefs? That's the time when we want to hear something, because they would know records violations or questions, shall we say, so.
Certainly my experience with Chief Snow would be if there were additional,
Right.
even if they.
Any other questions or comments, please? All those in favor, please. Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
Very good. Then, when it goes to the full board this evening, there will be discussion in regard to that aspect. I think the discussion either way, actually,
The public,
right,
because it's
and then
right, right. On some items, when it goes to the different committees, if there's a full approval of it, it goes under agenda. Excuse me. Okay, that takes care of that particular, and we have our next meeting. And I did speak to Deanna just before the meeting, or earlier today, she gave me the information. We always like to have the meeting so we don't have to have separate meetings.
correct.
So we all come one particular night. So our next board meeting would be September 20th. So if we can meet here at that time at 6 p.m. Yes. Is that okay, right,
that
Labe?
works for me.
Very good. Then we have a meeting set for that, and we're all set. And I will call this committee adjourned at this time. Thank you. The only other thing I would like to say, see people
I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Village Board on Monday, August 2nd at 7 PM in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all village board members present except for Phil Hudson, who is excused, and Dennis Myers, who I don't know. Okay, he will be tardy, I'm told, so Dennis will be joining us shortly. Thank you. At this time, I'll ask us all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next item is President's Report. I have nothing to report tonight, so we can go directly then to announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports. We'll start with committee reports and committee chairs with, we'll start with Trustee Miller, Trustee Rick Miller.
General government and finance will meet on Monday, August 16th at 6 PM.
Thank you. Trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet here on Monday, the 16th at 5 PM.
All right. Trustee Myers.
Well, we had our meeting this evening, and our next meeting we will have would be September 20th at 6 PM in this room.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee or department reports they'd like to forward? Trustee Jan Miller.
I'd like to invite the village board members and yourself, President Walter, to our library board meeting. I'm on the library board, and that will be August 25th at 6 PM in the library meeting room.
Okay, thank you for that. Put that on my calendar. Anyone else have anything else for announcements of forthcoming events, public interest, committee or department reports? All right, then we go on to the next item, which is citizen input and public appearance on items not subject to a public hearing. There are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. Before we bring people forward that are in our audience or joining us online via WebEx, I do have a couple communications to read into the record that people have sent in regards to items that are either on the agenda tonight or items that are within the village as part of Village Matters. So the first one I have is was received about middle of July, and it says, we have lived at North 120 West 15733 Freistadt Road for 30 years and share our west property line with Kennedy Middle School. We are very concerned that this year's fireworks display was aimed in our direction, easterly, and they were exploding over our house. You are supposed to feel protected and safe in your home. This year we did not. We went through a similar situation numerous years ago with the same concerns. That year, a burning shell came down about 10 feet from our house and burned a 3-foot circle in the lawn. A solution was reached at that time to direct the aim of the fireworks away from our property, understanding that the wind drift cannot be controlled. We know this is a delicate balance. If you don't want to put people onto Westerly Hill or the properties on the east in danger, we are sure that as you work with a professional organization like Wolverine Fireworks, a solution can be found that protects everyone. And that was respectively submitted by Richard and Kathleen Bremer. Next one I have is an email that was received at the end of July with the heading of Concerned Taxpayer. Hello, all. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for all that you do for the Village of Germantown. I do realize that the hours and effort you put in go above and beyond the average person's civic duty. Again, thank you for everything you have done and will do for our village and its residents. Please allow me to respectfully share some recent concerns that are weighing on me as a Germantown resident. In a short period of time, it has come to my attention that 3 significant potential things are being discussed at this time. A 49% increase in our water bill, a potential new Department of Public Works building, and a potential addition to our library. Each of these carries with it its own facts, potential needs, and conversations as to whether or not the need is reasonable and necessary. What the three concerns share together is the real potential for increased taxes and usage charges. As a taxpayer who oftentimes questions how it is that our Germantown taxes seem so much higher than surrounding areas, which include Menominee Falls, Hubertus, Colgate, etc., escalates further concern about the above three identified topics. Again, I realize that 2/3 of these important topics are still in the preliminary stages of discussion, and due diligence around need assessment are pending. As a taxpayer, like all of us, I can only hope that these discussions are in depth, comprehensive, and transparent so that genuine need is driving these important decisions, which will hopefully lead to a negligible increase in our taxes, which have already been impacted by our schools being recently updated. I did in fact vote for the referendum despite no longer having children in our schools. Please share this email at one of your upcoming meetings where and when appropriate. Again, I am truly grateful and appreciative of all the work that all of you are doing in leading us as local government officials. I'd be happy to provide further details around my concerns if necessary, and that's respectfully Mike Rodriguez, who has been a Germantown resident for 18 years. Next one I have is listed as upcoming hearing for John D. East. I would like to request for East Outdoor Services to become a home business located on West 165 North 11974 Fond du Lac Avenue in Germantown to be denied. I live next door at West 165 North 11904 Fond du Lac Avenue, and we have had to talk to Mr. East on more than one occasion because of the noise his business brings to the area. We deal with cars practically burning rubber coming out of his driveway, as well as the overall noise from the business itself. I have attached a video here. Mr. East is constantly putting wood into a wood chopper, which should be done on the job site and not at his residence. I am unable to go outside and enjoy my yard because of the noise, and it is also heard inside the home as well. As you can see, it sounds like a construction site. When we moved to Germantown 16 years ago, it was because of the acreage, the quiet area, and our neighbors weren't right next to us like a subdivision. We would have no problem with him being a home business as long as there is no chopping or sawing performed at the residence unless it is to make improvements to his home and there are no cars speeding out of his driveway. I would also like someone to confirm the email has been received, and that comes from Tasha Bagley. Next one I have is for self-storage Appleton Avenue. I'm writing to share opposition to TR Capital request for zoning change and conditional use at the property on Appleton Avenue. Our quiet, natural, clean area is being squeezed by industrial commercial business, and this is not the direction we want in our neighborhood. I respectfully encourage denial of the request for zoning change and conditional use. A denial would preserve family business zoning at the property. This will ensure that business operations will continue to meet expectations within a family business and will leave out the opportunity for industrial buildings and manufacturing that does not belong in this area. Please consider all of the noise, dirt, truck traffic, and pollution residents already deal with. We don't want any more. The quarry, TLC, landscape, car lots, car repair shop, enough of the squeeze on residential areas. TLC landscape itself, with changes in conditional use, has had a negative effect on our quiet natural area. Still going when it was explained that it was only a 2-week project and we are approaching 3 summers of it. Take a look at the Germantown 2050 plan where residents all over the area do not want more industrial businesses. Please respect taxpayers' expectations to keep industrial commercial business out by rejecting the zoning change request and reject conditional use. And that is given to us by Sarah Bajarski, and she is an Oak Lane resident. The next one I have is listed to the Germantown Village Board, and it's from Mark and Mary Tim, who live on Lovers Lane in Germantown. And it's in regards to the Plan Commission meeting on July 9th and the rezoning of parcels 141994 and 141999. To whom it may concern, the Plan Commission met on July 9th and a rezoning application for John and Brenda Perry was presented and approved. The property located on Lovers Lane in Northeast Germantown, parcels 141994 and 141999. The minutes of this meeting are not available as of this morning, 8/2/2021. A public hearing was held prior to the approved vote of a CSM and zoning change. Multiple residents spoke in opposition to the requested zoning and CSM changes, creating R3 zoning and a 1-acre residential lot. As the meeting was targeted as a hearing in action, the approved vote seemed already cast. Regarding the vote, it is not clear that a quorum was present and that the voting on this and other matters brought to the meeting are within its bounds. As noted, the minutes are also not available. I want to revoice my concerns regarding the changes proposed and agreed upon at that meeting regarding the present land use as designations, the reviewing the land use plan maps. Parcel 141994 is colored yellow and recognized as rural residential, minimum 1 acre lot. The designation is a continued carryover from the initial use map prior to the 2020 land use map and really is a designation of historical use to accommodate previous division of less than 5 acres. The property is owned R2, an accommodation or variance designation to fit a slightly less than 5 acre property. Regarding the process of the rezoning and division of parcels 141994 and 141999, Lot 1, parcel 141994 is the non-conforming lot, providing the yellow designation rule minimum 1 acre, but this is zoned R2, minimum 2.5 acre. The process to create a 1 acre lot would be to change the zoning on Lot 1 to R2 and R3. This would allow for creation of the 1 acre lot. This should be completed and approved and then submit a new CSM for approval. New lands 141994 and 141994A, Lot 1 and 1A, and parcel 141999 can then be subjected to the proposed CSM and zoning changes. The proposed and approved CSM should not be accepted without, number one, zoning changes to Lot 1 as defined above, creating R2, R3, and accepted CSM of Lot 1 for parcel 141994. And for number 2, submitting the proposal to further divide and rezone parcels 141994, 141994A, and 141999. Regarding precedent settings, review the land use maps initial to the proposed 2020 land use. The yellow map designations are historical changes that allowed previous land divisions. Second point is future intent of this color designation was not for division and splitting of these parcels, but to recognize historical variance from previous land divisions. And number 3, there are several parcels with this yellow color designation that will have the ability to create 1 acre lot subdivisions. If this is approved and goes forward. Many voices at the public hearing were against this change. The plan commissioners reiterated the intent of maintaining the rural 5 acre minimum north of Freistadt Road. However, the voice of the chair stated they have a right to make this change, so it would move forward. As a resident of the rural community of Germantown, request is made to deny the proposed and approved zoning and CSM changes as presented by the Plan Commission, and that is signed by Mark and Mary Tim. That's all I have for communications that were sent to me and requested to be read into the record. So then at this time, if there is anyone that would like to come forward for citizen input or public appearance, they're welcome to do so at this time. Come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to come forward? It's on when the light's off now.
Decision to cap fire protection. What we have talked in the past has been this, that the fire protection fee is, it's on a service. You're gonna take and cap the amount of money, the additional money needs to be billed. All people, not just putting the extra burden on the water utility users. I believe to be inequitable. I would ask that the board reconsider what they did to do. They create it so that the bill gets sent to everybody in the fire protection. But otherwise, just leave it on the taxes. The other thing I gave to finances of the, look at that, you will see pays the water utility, pays the village pilot, payment in lieu of taxes. That number, look at it, last year was calculated $675,000, more than covers the fire protection. That number is based on the value of the utility plus the tax rate of the village of Germantown. That number, as you can see, goes up every year. More than covers what look at your 2020 budget, the number that was put in their pilot is only 620. Calculated the number in November or in March when the public service, that went up $55,000. So right there, the village is making $55,000 anticipated. All I'm asking is, as far as it like the fire protection, please, all trustee districts, private citizen, said tonight, 9% increase, another line item for fire protection. The bills, they're gonna say, why is and those numbers are going up is because this village made a decision. Power for fire protection, put in new wells. Fire protection number goes up, but that was decisions made in the village. So I certainly believe the cost to be that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Kirpin, 1020, Wisconsin. I am president of Kiwanis of Germantown, and just wanted to take a quick second to thank the village of Germantown for their support of our event a couple weeks ago. Most specifically, cannot do this event without the village. Every part of it is a part. So first of all, I would want to thank Park and Rec. Without the Park and Rec being involved, a bit of a music in the park, but now it's a full family event for everyone. It is a great partnership. We're excited about it. Also the library being part in the kids area. Want a big thank you to the DPW. Again, anything without the DPW, they're so accommodating, so awesome with this event. Appreciate it. And just police department, the fire department being a part of it. That night, a lot of calls and appreciate them there. So before you guys every year thanking you, it just comes to be a better, bigger event, and we appreciate your support.
And before you leave, thank you for all the time it's spent by the Kiwanis in organizing it and bringing it together. I think it gets bigger and better every year. This year, I think, was a good testament of previous year's successes. The turnout was fantastic. The support by the food trucks was great, and it was nice to see people spread out across the whole park with the venue of the outdoor performing arts pavilion on one end, and then the stand in the middle, and then the children's center on the other side. Everybody that wanted to do something different could have their opportunity to go to the area that made the most sense for their family, and I think everybody there enjoyed it immensely. So thank you for all your efforts and all the time that you spent planning it and bringing it all together.
New shelter too.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance?
Siachek, 6W1 Stone Court. First, like to thank you for serving. Decisions you made Let's have second guessers. Sayers. At the end of the day, one can only ask that you do your best. To that point, I believe you let slip from your grasp at the last board meeting with your vote on the public fire. In my opinion, you let optics influence rather than good policy. Property tax bill, adding it to the had you concerned over optics of an increase in the amount of focus should have been on public safety. This community high value on public safety. Board members over the years, including this board, have stated that public safety is a high priority. Chief Delane, recent meeting, provided a compelling argument. Need to be added to the fire department, the village, the rising number of emergency calls. At some point, Chief Snow, I'm sure, will make a similar compelling argument. Officers, many of the same reasons. Faced with this reality, board, with your vote last meeting, you chose water bill optics over public safety. You had the opportunity, existing costs and future increases, the PFP to the water bill. As you formulate the 2022 budget, that would have provided additional dollars to fund public safety needs without affecting the property tax levy limit imposed by the state. Whether a resident or business paid the PFP costs on their property tax bill or the water bill, the amount is the same. That amount is just paid in a different way. Obviously, the upcoming increase in the water complicates the issue. That is totally separate from. As a result of this action, it places the board in a position to defend optics rather than good public policy. Fortunately, there may come a time when a public safety emergency happens, and the village, based on your action on the PFP, will have inadequate resources to deal with the situation. That may result in a delayed response time and could lead to adverse consequences. That now puts the board in the unenviable position of explaining how the optics of an increased water bill took priority over public safety. How do you explain that to a resident or a business? As I conclude, always place good public policy over optics. Always do your best. That is your guide, you and your hard work. Village will continue to grow and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to come forward for citizen input or public appearance? Anyone else? Is there anyone online that wishes to come forward? If there is someone there, I just don't want to discount them. Just give us 1 minute while we check to make sure that nobody that has joined us via WebEx wishes to make public comment. Okay. If there's no one else in the audience that wishes to come forward, we could proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is consent agenda. Board?
Motion to approve A through C.
Motion made and seconded to approve consent agenda items A through C. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve? No discussion? Then we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Myers.
Aye.
Bond.
Aye.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
Peter. Aye. President.
Aye. Next item on the agenda that has items under it is new business, starting with new business item A, which is the denial of an operator's license. Crystal McCoy.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the denial.
No, motion to, well, I can't speak, it's his motion.
Dennis, can you clarify your motion? Is your motion to approve the
motion
license or
is
approve the
to
denial of
approve-
license?
Motion is, well,
The,
Let's
as
do
listed
the-
on the agenda, it's
yeah,
denial.
right, we have to have a positive thing, so basically speaking, it should be just the opposite.
It's, but as it's stated under new business, it's denial of
Denial,
operator's
yes.
license. So is your motion then to approve that denial or to?
Actually, it was to approve her operation license,
Okay,
Mr.
so
President.
Motion is then to approve the operator's license of
This is
Crystal
correct.
McCoy? All right, and is that also the understanding of the second?
Yes, it is.
All right, then, discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
in public safety today, we discussed this in detail, and our attorney gave us some additional facts that, for myself, I wasn't aware of from before, and the vote was 2 in favor, 1 against. It passed.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Any further discussion? Trustee Baum?
So what's the additional information that you were presented that I may not know about?
Well, I,
Brian, would you be so kind to step to the microphone and give that official thing that I couldn't do in the same, please?
Sure, and in fact, Trustee Baum, I suspect that for you, who's been around long enough, it's not new information. Effectively, the discussion that we had is that the statute that relates to licensing of alcohol licenses just generally says that if you are a habitual offender or if you have been convicted of a felony, that you are ineligible to hold a license. There is a big asterisk next to that, that is effectively that it needs to relate to the licensed activity. And in addition, as you are then looking to, if you make the determination that it is related, that you still nonetheless have to look at fair employment practices effectively under Chapter 111 of the statutes, which would mean that you look at things like the time since the violation occurred, the nature of rehabilitation, if any that was there, those types of things. All things that we've discussed previously. But, okay.
I can comment that she has not been a habitual offender. That is, her only crime was in 2002, nearly 20 years ago. She has had no new criminal activity since then, and her crime does not relate to serving alcohol, and she is applying for a operator's permit for operator's license at Cracker Barrel.
Further discussion? Mr. Nyrider?
And can I ask, was Chief Snow made aware of this?
He's the one that wrote the report.
So he's taking back his original, he's rescinding his original then?
No, his recommendation would still be to deny it. Generally, my experience is with Chief Snow, and in fact, all of the police chiefs that our firm deals with generally consider narcotics-related violations to be related to an alcohol license, primarily just because they're both fairly, highly regulated in terms of things that need to take place. And so as a result, the chief's position would be that this is related to the license activity, and that for that reason, he would recommend denial still.
Has the applicant ever applied in other communities? Has she been turned down?
I don't think we would be aware of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, typically, Madam Clerk, the application, I think, has, do you hold a license in another community? But if she doesn't hold one, we wouldn't know whether she's applied and been denied somewhere else, unless she's here.
Further discussion? No. Trustee Chan Miller?
My comment was that if Chief Snow is willing to deny this, I think that we should trust his research on this. And the board also approved the Class B liquor license at Cracker Barrel. Thank you.
Further discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the operator's license for Crystal McCoy, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Opposed, raise your hands. 3 opposed. Motion passes. Next item under new business is item B, report on boardroom audio visual equipment. And with that report, we are going to turn it over to our village clerk to give us some updates and information on the audio visual equipment.
The new equipment is working. We're thankful for that. It was tested this morning. It was working this morning. Everything was good. Global Sight and Sound, they're here with us this evening to help us through any problems that we have. Did call in Spectrum and Charter Cable when things weren't working last week. And of course, when he came, everything was working. And that's the way that goes with electronic equipment. But right now it's working. We're watching it, paying attention to it. One thing that I will say that I hear often is to make sure when you're speaking, if you have a low voice, speak a little closer to the microphone if your voice isn't carrying, to help the people at home or in the gallery to hear you. That would be wonderful if you would just go a little closer to the microphone. But other than that, right now, everything is.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Very good, thank you for the report. Next item under new business is item C, update from Library Director Smith on Germantown Community Library strategic planning efforts. Director Smith.
Good evening. I'm Tricia Smith. I'm the director of the Germantown Community Library. I am here to give a brief update on the Germantown Library strategic planning process. Since 2016, we have seen significant growth through both our library services, programming, circulation. We have had a lot of initiatives to increase our marketing and outreach, not only in the building, but also in the community. We've added a lot of new technology, restructured our staff in order to better utilize the staff members we have and improve our procedures. All of these factors have led to increased general library use over the last few years and awareness of the importance of the library in not only the village of Germantown, but in our surrounding service areas. We have worked to transform the library from just a place to check out material to a central location in the community, where residents can gain information, access resources, attend programs, and connect with each other. As one of the most utilized public buildings, the library remains a central hub in the village of Germantown. We are now at the point where we are looking to create a more finalized vision of library services as we look towards the future. One of the endeavors that we have most recently looked at is creating a strategic plan. Just like we have regular plans for the village, many libraries, including Hartford, Cedarburg, Mequon, and Milwaukee, have recently gone through a strategic planning process. This is typically a 5-year process that's updated every 5 years as needs in the community change. Currently, we do not have a formal plan. One of the goals for 2020 was to start on a strategic plan, but due to COVID restrictions and other focuses, we have delayed that until this year. The plan is being conducted by the Wisconsin Library Services that assist libraries specifically in Wisconsin in strategic and project planning. The goal of creating a strategic plan is not only to create goals that will make our services better, but also to learn from community members and stakeholders as to what their priorities are for library services. The plan will collect data through comparing similar service areas in other libraries, complete questionnaires and community conversations, and evaluate data to create a vision for the library in order to meet the growing needs of our community. The MOU for the strategic plan was approved by the Germantown Community Library Board last week on Wednesday, July 28th. The cost will equal about $10,000. The funding has been previously budgeted for through the library budget and also additional library board funding. The 6-month strategic planning process is set to begin in November of 2021 and will be finalized in the spring of 2022. We are looking to update this plan every 5 years, looking at significantly lower costs for future updates due to this being the first time that we have looked at the plan, and data will be able to be updated instead of completely recreated. As we move forward with our strategic planning, the thought also remains as to looking at the possibility of expanding our current building. As we've seen significant growth, we have also seen a need for expanded building space for not only collection material, but also storage, staff work areas, and programming, as well as additional community spaces. One of our biggest issue right now is because we have grown so much over the past 5 years, we are seeing increased noise level. The structure of our building currently with the open ceiling creates a lot of noise. So while the increased children and families in our area have led to increased engaging in learning and literacy, it doesn't create a very good atmosphere for individuals who are looking to study, use the library for internet research, and applying for jobs. As we complete the strategic planning process and evaluate the needs of the library, we are looking to gather data that can hopefully be used in the future to look at expanding the building or possible construction. The library building that was built in 2002 was originally meant to have a second floor, as I'm sure many of you are aware. At this time, funds were not available, and 20 years later, we are starting to look again at the feasibility of what expansion would look like. We are aware that this project will most likely take several years, and we are in the very beginning stages of pre-planning. Several factors that have recently brought this situation into light and started some conversations along with our strategic plan in looking at what it would take to do an expansion project. For the past several decades, Washington County funding has contributed to capital funds. These funds do require a match from the village. While the funds are no longer being added to by the county, there is currently over $800,000 that can be utilized for expansion if matched by the village. The debt of the building was also paid off in March 2021 this year, and library impact fees are available since the building was not completed. Library impact fees are available to go towards a future expansion project. We have also begun to look at different creative ways that we can contribute to a building project, including fundraising, both through our Library Friends group and resources. Over the past couple of weeks, as we looked at beginning the strategic planning, we also had some meetings with some of the village staff, Scott Anderson from DPW, some of our library board members and staff, some of the original architect and the engineering firm that were involved in the building, just to get some preliminary answers on if the building was indeed constructed for a second floor, and if we would still be able to possibly project in the future. Lots of questions still to be answered, but thoughts were positive on the structure that was set in place during these meetings. That being said, we are a long way off from completing not only our strategic plan, but also taking the next steps to future planning for expansion. Even though completing the second floor appears to be the most logical plan where the building is constructed, we do also want to explore additional possibilities, including expanding outward and also some more creative service options and satellite buildings and additional services. Germantown Board also approved a strategic planning facility committee to help us through the strategic planning process and focus on all of the data gathering conversations with the community, all of the initiatives and marketing that will be in order to complete our strategic plan and also to continue to evaluate options for expansion. After 20 years, we are looking to take the next steps in exploring options that will allow the library to better meet the needs not only now, but in many years to come. The feasibility of expansion will ultimately come down to support from the village and also funding, how much it will cost and what funding is available through various outlets. But myself, my staff, and the library board are optimistic that we are in a positive place right now to begin.
Questions? Trustee Baum?
Yes.
Give me the name of that organization again. You said in 2020, start the strategic planning, and there was an organization that helps you do that?
Sure, it's going to be Wills. It's capital W, lowercase I, and then capital L and S. They're called the Wisconsin Library Service. I can send you the website, but they work very frequently with libraries in Wisconsin on strategic planning.
Wisconsin Library Service.
Yep. I can send that out.
Further questions? Further questions? I think we're all amazed to hear that the library is loud. But that's good. That just means there's lots of activity. And then as the plan progresses, then we could probably get an idea of what would the second floor look like. And
Yeah. Still a lot of work to do. And
did you say that you did go through a meeting with the development group that produced or built the library?
yeah, we had a brief, we had a meeting with the architect that was originally involved in the building and then also the engineering.
Was there anything for access to the second level in ways of an elevator pre-built into that building, or would that also have to be then?
There's a shaft that's set up, but the actual elevator to be. Same thing with like the stairwells there. The space is there for them.
Is the shaft that section that's in the children's area?
No, it's actually, if you look at the circulation desk, it's a left desk. Right now we have it. The building there's a lot of space up above like the community. Just look. Left area.
Any other questions?
Comment.
Trustee Kaminsky?
I just wanted to say I appreciate your initiative. This is something that comes up again and again, and we've always talked about a second floor. Whether we can afford it or not, we'll find out. But thank you for having the initiative you do for making our library what it is. You have really been excellent. Thank you.
Else for the director? Trustee Jan Miller?
I have the privilege of being on the library board, and it's a pleasure to work with Tricia and her team. They've done a lot of work and really engaging the community, especially during COVID. The numbers just rocketed with the grab and goes and having an area for people to not touch anyone or see anyone and just run in and grab what they wanted, pre-ordered, and run out. So the structure for the second level was confirmed by the engineering group. It is there, the steel's there. We all know what expansion is and how costly it can be, but the library right now is poised for a second floor. So it's been paid off and we have money in the bank, and we want to open more opportunities for the community. It is a community library. Thanks, Tricia.
Thank you. Trustee Myers?
I just want to echo Terry's same remarks in regard to being previously on the library board, that doing an excellent job. Staff.
Any other questions? Comments? Anything else? Director? Next item under new business is item D, ordinance 05-2021, land use plan map amendment from commercial to industrial office, and ordinance 06-2021, rezoning from B1 Neighborhood Business Zoning District to M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District pursuant to Section 17.33 of the zoning code, and a conditional use permit, conditional use permit 04-2021 for commercial self-storage for TR Capital LLC and agent for Bruce J. Miller, property owner located at West 219 North 11588 Appleton Avenue. To give us some more information background on this new business item D, I'll turn the meeting over to our associate planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. TR Capital, the property owner of this subject property, is seeking approval of a 2020 land use plan amendment from commercial to the industrial office designation, a rezoning from the B1 neighborhood business to the M1 limited industrial district, and a conditional use permit for commercial self-storage within an enclosed building and outside within a secured area screened from view on the 3.65 acre property located. This is the subject property highlighted in white. In the existing zoning is B1 neighborhood business. South and east is the quarry, and subject property is located to the east of Appleton Avenue, Amy Bell Road intersection, just east of. So the purpose of the three applications is to allow the redevelopment of this site, including the existing single-family home and commercial plant sales uses, into both enclosed self-storage and exterior boat and vehicle self-storage. This site does have a cap installed by the DNR due to previous contamination, and as a result, the development potential of building the site is limited. This is a diagram submitted by the applicant showing the approximate location of the asphalt cap, which is highlighted in red for you. It's about a half acre in size. The asphalt cap is required to remain in place for a minimum of 30 years, starting in 2006. So several more years to go. And that's in place in order to prevent disturbance of the soil contamination. This area cannot have any buildings constructed on it. The fill section, which is highlighted in yellow, the property can only accommodate floating slabs just because of the fill that was brought in. There's not contamination in that area. So this is the concept plan submitted by the applicant. The storage buildings would be varied in size and be individual units with exterior access garage door. So the eastern portion of the site is proposed as the outdoor storage for residential storage, things like boats, campers, trailers. An engineered site plan will need to be reviewed and approved by the Plan Commission prior to any grading or construction on the site. So the land use plan amendment application is commercial to the industrial office, and that is to accommodate the self-storage use. With the 2050 land use plan still being finalized, the existing 2020 land use plan must be amended. The proposed use is required to be screened and buffered to minimize impacts on surrounding properties. Zoning application is from the B1 Neighborhood Business District to the M1 Limited Industrial District. The proposed use of the property for self-storage consistent with the M1 Limited Industrial District and consistent with the proposed land use plan amendment. Conditional use permit is brought in with the exterior storage on the site. The interior storage or the enclosed storage is permitted as a principal use in the M1 district, but the outdoor storage requires a conditional use permit for it. Due to the DNR cap on the property, no buildings can be constructed in that area, which brings in the proposed exterior. Previous owner of this property did operate plant sales under condition permit 0809, and that expired under the sale of the property per the condition of CUP. Planning staff does recommend specifying conditions of the conditional use permit to limit the use of storage unit parking area, to include no business operation from the storage unit or parking stalls, no residents on the property, and no storage of hazardous materials. The Plan Commission did recommend approval of the 2020 Land Use Plan Map Amendment, approval of the rezoning from B1 Neighborhood Business to M1 Limited Industrial, and then approval of the conditional use permit, self-storage buildings where storage is conducted within an enclosed building, individual unit in a building, or outside of a building, but within a secure area screened from view for the 3.65 acre property located at W19 and 11588 Appleton Avenue, subject to 5 conditions.
Board? Ira?
President, Mr. President, do you want to take those 3 ordinances separately?
Trustee Nyrider had his hand up.
I'm
first,
sorry, excuse
So
me.
I'll
Sorry.
recognize him
Sorry.
first.
Emily, can you go back to the picture with the with the storage units? Why would we allow outside storage? Or how much outside storage? Or I guess I question, if he's putting up an enclosed storage, why would we allow outside storage, which only is going to serve to make it look junkier at some point in time?
Conditional use does require, in the wording of the conditional use permit itself, that the outdoor storage needs to be enclosed, so within a fence likely, and screened from, so likelihood of seeing a lot of this road, for example, is.
I disagree with you. Where would the outside storage be limited to on that property?
To the east.
This is a concept plan. Again, the site plan would need to go Plan Commission. This is just a concept plan. They're looking, the reason for the outdoor storage in that location, again, is that DNR cap, which does not allow buildings to be constructed.
Trustee Jan Miller.
There is no indication on this concept plan actually where the DNR space is. Where is the cap? But where is the building?
Well,
Can
there
you-
can't be a building on the cap, so everything they're showing has to be before.
So they're not overlapping, so I don't understand exactly where they're building this inside storage unit versus the outside.
Go back to the other concept there. So
So where is
the
the,
first, well, the black boxes, I think, represent the inside storage, and then
Right.
it would, the first building, which is its longest and probably the smallest units in size, probably stop close to the cap would be my guess. And then the outside storage, I'm not sure if there's a requirement, and maybe you can elaborate, if it all needs to be asphalted, or can it be crushed stone and just leave the asphalt in the cap area? Has there been any discussion on what that plan would look like?
Well, the asphalt cap has to remain as is, monitored and maintained.
right, but where is it, Mr.
The-
Etzlaff?
The right or east end of the black boxes. the proposed
Okay.
buildings
The
is-
entire,
Is the beginning of the fence around the outdoor store.
so the outdoor storage area is completely over the DNR cap.
Partially. The DNR cap doesn't cover all of the area buildings, just some of it. we can have the applicant come.
Oh.
But as they're coming forward to explain that, you can simply say that not allowed to build any buildings on the cap, so
And,
Or put additional asphalt over it?
I believe they,
Okay.
and then, I,
You still have the floor.
so you're putting a little fence around it? Well, I have seen, RVs and big, boats that are very tall. And so I'm concerned that even if you put a fence around it, you're going to see all this stuff.
This on?
Yes, if the light is,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so this would be Appleton Avenue. So
And-
the majority of Appleton Avenue will be screened by these. And so this is all mined out gravel pit. Old
Correct.
quarries along here, which we have a strong letter of support from the Dawsons for doing this. We met with them and described everything to them.
Uh-huh.
Strong letters of support from these people, and then this guy is actually a pretty good. But so the cap actually, we got it surveyed last week.
Okay.
So this site plan is going to change a little bit because the engineer is doing all the surveying of exactly where the cap is. So the cap is actually 1 acre. It's a full 1 acre. So it may come to here, it's somewhere between about here. So this building size is going to change according to where the cap is on the final plan. So our plan is to put a higher fence and then trees all along here. This is all heavily wooded here. This is the rear, it's just gravel pit, no houses anywhere from here to here. So this fence this will be a berm, then a fence, and then we'll be planting trees all along here. Then I know the Dawsons are going to be coming, they're going to fill this in. So there'll be a lot of higher landscaping out here. So this is the 4th facility that I've done actually. I just did one about 2.9 miles away. And I own the one on Highway Q by the railroad tracks too. I did that one. Well, this is going to be a nice facility. The reason that we did the outside parking here is like he said. So this is original ground out here. So I know what we're getting into. We can strip it, compact it adequately, and then put buildings on it. And then when it freezes and thaws, I know what the compaction is, so the buildings won't break up. So we did a little bit of testing back here. So this has all been filled before. And it's not filled with, it's filled with varying materials. It's got concrete in it and chunks of asphalt. So I cannot put buildings back here just because of the way it was filled. It was just dumped in there. So they didn't compact it correctly. When you put buildings on material that rises and falls, they crack. And
It's not a good thing.
so that's why our preference would be you can see what the site looks like now. We're going to clean this all up. We've already started cleaning it up. So Bruce Miller has an eviction notice. He'll be out August 31st. Then we're coming in with our big cleanup crews and they'll all be stripped and it's going to look really nice.
What is on the west side of Appleton Avenue?
Richfield. Yeah, it's Richfield over here.
Right. And what? The quarry. Okay.
So I believe we only have about one property owner, one house. And this will be heavy screening here with trees and fence and
That's all. Those
yeah,
are all my
it's
questions.
going to be, it's going to be mostly community storage for boats and campers, RVs, people that live in communities and subdivisions. We're not planning on letting landscapers or anybody like that store in there. It's just going to be residential storage.
Understand, but people have massive vehicles these days, whether it's boats or
Outside storage on the one on County Line, just by the railroad track before
Yeah,
Colgate.
I have about 15 spots there. Only about 15.
So it almost has to be in the southwest corner then, because if you come up on that intersection, I've never seen anything
That's, yeah,
outside.
so most of them are hidden behind the buildings. That's because I have the spots behind the buildings. And then I own that other property to the south there, that Joe's Car Care.
Mhm.
I own that real estate. And so I hid I hid about 8 camper spots behind there and I put trees in there and a fence. And then I hid them behind where the are. So you really, building is here, coming along, long building here, you're gonna be just way over here. You're not gonna see that back.
Your hope to put in the same types of storage buildings that are shown at that site on County Line Road?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Is it going to be the same type of building?
Yeah.
The same type of metal building that you have there?
Yeah, that's our plan. But, so the part that's facing Appleton Avenue, brick, with windows, there'll be no doors at all facing Appleton Avenue. So there'll be no doors here facing the road, okay? So this is all gonna be brick and then with little windows in here. Then, so the doors will only be facing towards each other.
Okay.
And so there'll be no lights here at all facing Appleton Avenue. The lights will only be, because there's gonna be no doors off the rear here, no doors off the rear here, so there'll be no lights facing this neighbor and no lights facing this neighbor. So the lights will just be small downward facing LEDs, and they'll only be here, here. So we'll only have 4 rows that won't be facing any neighbors.
And what is your plan for access hours?
Okay, so that's still an evolution. We'd like to, I mean, some places do just daylight. Our plan is to have only daylight hours because we don't want to put any lighting in the parking lot. So our plan is to just do daylight only access. Have a gate here so they can, in the lease, it'll say it's only daylight access. The gate will automatically time out. And like to do, but we don't have to do, maybe like from an hour before sun up to an hour after sundown on the outside storage.
Thank
So
you.
it definitely won't be all night long. We can have that gate lock at an hour after the sun goes down. So it's open at 10 at night or 11.
Mr. Nyrider?
Let's go back again. Where would the outside storage be limited to then?
Outside storage?
Mhm.
Just this right here, the rear. So, said
How
that-
many, roughly, and I know depending on size of vehicles, but how many vehicles, et cetera, could we possibly be looking at a range?
maybe, I mean, 50-ish.
Would they all be working vehicles?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Are you subject, or would you be agreeable to limiting the amount of outside storage, the number of vehicles?
Yeah, however many parking spots that we end up with here, when we get the engineering back, we're more than happy to do that. We're not going to park something in a non-spot. I can't put buildings back here, and because the DNR cap is 1 acre, it goes from about here to about here, about here. And then this has all just been filled. If you go back to the old aerials,
And I understand, that, but I always worry about over time, right away, everybody kind of follows the law and everything else, but as time goes along, then what kind of vehicles get back there and what kind of junk vehicles get back there, et cetera, et cetera. Screening, I see the screening, but there are certain times of the year, as we know, where depending on what type of trees they aren't going to screen as efficiently.
Parking lot, there's
And you were saying that Mr. Miller was evicted? Thank you.
Trustee Myers?
My question, in regard to it, do you want to take those three ordinances in separate? And if so, which one first?
It's totally up to whoever wants to make the motion. I have no preference. It's however you want to bring them forward.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 05-2021.
For the land use plan map amendment
Yes,
from commercial to industrial office.
yes.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Sir?
I just wanted to point out that staff supports the proposal. This problem has been a problem child for as long as I've been here. And while outside storage can be a problem in some cases, gentlemen, we're dealing on a tight ship, and mentioned the fact that it regulated under the conditional use permit. So we will have things get, say, out of control in terms of number or type of stored. The conditions that Emily has limit, prohibit their ability to have businesses being run out of storage area themselves. So we feel pretty confident that it's going to be a nice operation that will help clean up a site that desperately needs to be cleaned up. That fill cap, this property can't really be used for much of anything. But back in the 70s, this was used as a dump site for barrels of chemicals coming from a boat motor operation. And to have this type of proposal really help out the neighborhood, as we've heard from those who do support it.
Further discussion? Distances from the next driveway to yours, the one that would be on the opposite side of Appleton Avenue?
Back in the engineering yet.
Would you consider daily traffic counts for that storage facility based on your operations on County Line?
I mean, maybe about one vehicle an hour-ish. It's about what it is. Most people put their stuff in there and they don't come back for 2 or 3 months, to be perfectly honest. If there's a boat in there, then remember, this is designed for people who live in subdivisions. People who live in the community where they get their subdivision, end up in a lawsuit because they keep their boat in their driveway too many days. That's where we're designing this for. As a matter of fact, our whole first building is going to be specifically designed for boats. We're going to design them so people can live in the community, can have a place to put their boats. They're going to be 27 feet long, 12 feet wide, be able to put their boats in there. So yeah, they might come and get their boat maybe once every week or 2 weeks. Somebody might go camping once every couple of weeks. And then the winter, I can't even imagine there'd be anybody coming and going on the outside storage, maybe one a day outside storage. I don't know where they'd be going with the boat and the camper. And then pretty much there's no businesses that are going to be run out of those units. 5 a day. I own the one on Q, and sometimes if I can't even get to it, if I don't plow it until like a day or two, there's not even a single track in there. I have cameras and.
Well, don't tell us you don't plow it.
No, not if sometimes it's a little delayed,
I understand. Further discussion? Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, a couple things. I just did a quick distance check on Google Maps, and it's about 100 yards to the residents across the street, about 200 yards to the entrance, I guess just to the south.
Quarry?
To the quarry. I would say the same thing that Director Retzloff said, is that this thing's been an eyesore and a dump since I was a kid. So, I mean, it's been around for a long time, and I think this is fantastic that something is finally going to clean that up and actually look nice along there. The storage units that I see, they don't have a lot of traffic. They come and they leave their stuff, and maybe if they're moving, they'll be there a couple times that day. But we're not talking about a big difference in traffic here. So I will support this.
Further discussion on the motion to approve the land use map amendment? Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 06-2021.
That motion would be to rezone from B1 Neighborhood Business Zoning District to M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District pursuant to Section 17.33 of the zoning code. Discussion on the motion to approve the zoning change. No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next motion.
Motion to approve 04-2021.
That is a conditional use permit for commercial self-storage for TR Capital LLC, an agent for Bruce J. Miller, property owner, located at West 219 North 11588 Appleton Avenue. Any discussion to the motion to approve the conditional use permit? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Next item under new business is item E, ordinance 07-2021, rezoning from A2 agricultural and RS2 single-family zoning districts to the A2 agricultural and RS3 single-family residential districts pursuant to section 17.13 and section 17.16 of the Village Zoning Code for John E. and Brenda L. Perry, property owners located at North 124, West 14106 Lovers Lane, and 3-lot certified survey map application. To give us some more information and background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you indicated, John and Brenda Perry own approximately 30 property on Lover, about a quarter-mile east of Plymouth. They're looking to redivide 2 parcels into 3 parcels and accommodate of one of the properties and the creation of a new single-family lot. It's highlighted in red on the screen. And this is the proposed CSM. I've drawn some lines to show what the ultimate end state is that they're proposing. Lot 1, larger tract to the north, a lot of wetland associated with the Menominee River. Cultural district. Lot 2 would be expanded from approximately 2 acres to 10 acres in order to accommodate a new dwelling, developed dwelling that's being built on the property, as well as existing detached structures to and lot 3, a 1 acre parcel, would be created from the current 2.5 acre property, the existing dwelling. I've got a couple of charts that come existing condition on the left, proposed condition on the right. Larger area, lot 1 would be to agricultural, lot 2 would go from RS2 to A2 agricultural, and lot 3 that is RS2 to RS3. Staff supports the proposal. The 3-lot land division and rezoning are consistent with the 2020 land use plan map classifications. The larger area that would be contained within lots 1 and 2 are classified as agricultural, conservation, residential, which allows for lots as small as 5 acres, agricultural parcels. And area lot 3 is located, is classified as rural residential. That's the yellow map on the screen. And that allows for the creation of 1 acre lots. The land division proposed by the Perrys is essentially to allow lot 2 to expand, so the existing outbuildings can remain, and Mr. Perry can attach garage to go along with the new replacement dwelling that's being built on the property. So secondary purpose to create 1 acre residential lot, lot 3. I want to point out that at the plan meeting and public hearing, there was opposition to the proposal. And it's centered around, if I could paraphrase, the creation of the Lot 3. There's been, as long as I've been here, the notion that land divisions north of Freistadt Road can only be 5 acres minimum parcel size. In fact, if you read through the 2020 plan, you'll never really see that Freistadt Road policy specifically stated. Essentially, the area that's highlighted in green, the two greens, the slightly dark, those are the rural agricultural / conservation residential areas that are intended for the creation of residential lots as large as 5 acres in size. But it's highlighted in yellow, which mostly are scattered throughout the entire village, are areas that recognize historical parcels that were prior to the plan being adopted in 2020 that were less than 5 acres in size. But also the plan indicates that those are suitable for of additional lots 1 acre in size. In fact, since the plan was adopted in 2004, we have had 5 certified survey maps, 5 subdivision plats, 127 single-family lots in the areas that are highlighted in yellow on the 2020. So one of the concerns this evening is allowed to create a lot from his 2.5 acre parcel that's highlighted or classified as yellow, and everybody else who's yellow can do that. Well, theory that's true, but the reality is that most of the areas that classified as yellow could be divided, have in fact already been divided into those 127 lots that we've created since 2004. Now I tried to tally up the remaining parcels that are classified as yellow between 2 and 5 acres in size. And I came up with approximately 12 to 15 lots that could potentially be divided further that are classified as yellow. So the concern that has been about if Mr. Perry could do it, then many others can also. The reality, that horse is already out of the barn, so to speak. And those lots have already been created. Lots have been including the Bavarian area, Country Bell Manor area, Woodland Ponds and Harvest Hills. And there are still parcels approximately 5 acres in size that are located along Country Air, south of Freistadt Road, that have that yellow residential classification that are currently undeveloped, that can be developed into the under the current plan to 1 acre lots. How that area shakes out for future development potential under the 2050 plan. But I thought it was important to address that concern since that was the focus of the opposition, if you will. The staff recommendation, or I should say the Plan Commission recommendation for the rezoning is to approve it as proposed and to approve the certified survey map application subject to. Thank you.
Thank you. Board?
Motion to approve new business E, ordinance 07-2021.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion to approve. Trustee Jan Miller.
Mr. Retzloff, on the at the Plan Commission, I counted approximately 6 people that came in front of the Plan Commission and were opposed to this reclassification, adding the 1 acre lot to the property that is above the Freistadt Road. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. I know a copy of the draft minutes were in its packet.
Yep.
And looking, counted, I think it was roughly 5 or 6.
And
So let's vote.
is the yellow area considered a zoning classification or a plan classification?
It's a plan classification.
So this is based on the 2020 land use plan. And we are working on the 2050 plan, correct? And the 2050 plan is on the website, correct?
The work that's been done to date, yes.
Okay. So I would have to lean toward the residents that have opposed this, property change. One of the people that came to the Plan Commission actually said that they tried to have some kind of rezoning done and it was denied. And maybe it was 6 years ago, maybe it was 5, maybe it was 2 years. I don't know what year it was, but clearly they were denied and they're above Freistadt Road. And I think in the 2050 plan, please correct me if I'm wrong, we are trying to create a rural heritage area, and that is primarily above the Freistadt Road?
Preservation area that's shown on the draft. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy to show you, is in the north part of the village, yes.
Okay. So we're in 2021, we're still working on the 2050 plan. And I would have to vote for those people that do not want this reclassification. Thank you.
Further discussion, trustee Baum.
Director Retzloff, I do remember the one person who did come before us and tell us about not being able to rezone their land. Do you remember the specifics about that?
I don't actually recall, no.
I thought there was a very specific reason why they could not. It was something to do with the size of their property. I can't remember the specifics. Do you know if that's written in the notes, right? Minutes by chance? Is that?
I don't recall. I know there was some commentary that essentially we divided property and we had to divide it into nothing less than 5 acres. So that was one of the positions. And as I explained then and tried and maybe didn't do a job tonight to explain that the 5 acre north of Freistadt Road policy isn't the only policy that the village has currently adopted that should be the basis upon which decision making is made with respect to land. And the other policy is yellow classification, which provides for the creation of 1 acre.
And I think that's the part that needs to be emphasized is it's the yellow stuff. There's not a whole lot of it on the map anymore. And that stuff is mostly, except for 12 to 15 sites, already as small as it can go. As you looked at the map.
But by my count, I mean, quite frankly, when you look closely at the map, you'll see, and in fact, I can point out to you, so I've circled divided since 2004, since the plan adopted. So you can see throughout created individual, and in some cases, some subdivision areas that were highlighted or classified as yellow because the village divided into 1 acre parcels, but specifically without the need for sewer. While we can debate whether or not the current plan is the correct plan going forward, it is the current plan that we have adopted. And while we've talked as part of the 2050 planning process about changing policies, changing possibly density allowances, possibly changing lot size creation, maybe talked about moving away from a minimum of 5 acres and allowing a smaller lot size. We also talked about doing that in combination with increasing the density. While we might increase the density, we could drop the minimum lot size and provide for and encourage cluster type development that would save larger tracts of open space and land to preserve cultural appearance, if not necessarily for cultural practices. That's the direction where we're currently. But I don't dispute or argue that we're trying to preserve the area. We're just going to be doing with some, I would updated planning tools as we move forward.
Further discussion? Trustee Chan Miller.
Mr. Retzloff, in the plan itself, is there a structure that's proposed for the 1 acre plot right now?
Talking about the 2050 plan?
No.
No,
And
the
CSM
the CSM.
dividing the 1 acre lot.
Is there a structure that is,
Well, structurally, what's highlighted in yellow are the areas that are intended to be divided into 1 acre.
no,
That are proposed for this evening.
building permit?
Oh,
Is there a
the
building?
actual structure?
Right. the
No,
act-
we have, Mr. Perry has indicated his desire to create a 1 acre parcel for the possibility of developing for a suite or law situation. It doesn't matter. If he wants to create a 1 acre parcel, guidelines of the current rules, he can propose to do so.
Further discussion? Trustee Kaminsky.
I don't live too far from this parcel, and I know people who lived there before. And I can understand the people who came forward at Plan Commission, and I also understand the pushback you're going to get. Anything north of Freistadt should be 5 acres. I mean, that's still very much a part of people's thinking, and that's why they purchased there and built there, et cetera. That said, in this case, however, if you do look down Lover's Lane, there are a couple of homes on much smaller parcels, in old homes, like built in the 50s or whatever. And we're really not that far. If you just walked through some of our back lots, you're not far from that subdivision that's on like acre to acre and a half parcels, a whole little subdivision back there off Mequon and Wazaki. So this really, I could stretch my imagination to say I can support this in keeping with the neighborhood, which is right around the block from me. And I can support this, and I think it will be fine and not detract. However, when it comes to the 50-50 plan, that's where I will be with you, digging my heels in on primarily 5 acre parcels to keep that rural flavor.
Further discussion? Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, most of the yellow that you're talking about that's been developed, and not all of it, is south of Freistadt Road. There is some to the north that has been approved. But when I, excuse me, when I look at the yellow above Freistadt Road, most of it is because of existing housing there already. And that's why you highlight it in yellow, so that they're in, I guess, compliance with the land use map when they were doing it. This house, of course, has yellow because it was on a less than 5 acre parcel, right?
Correct.
And that's how I view it. So in order to go down lower than that, I really don't see that happening. I guess I don't see going down to a 1 acre parcel on this.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor of ordinance 07-2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed, raise your hands. 3 opposed. You still have to approve the certified survey map. Need a motion? Anyone? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the certified survey map as presented? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next item, thank you, sir, for coming. Next item under new business is item F, conditional use permit 05-2021, John D. East, applicant and property owner located at West 164 North 11974 Fond du Lac Avenue. Conditional use permit for a major home occupation for East Outdoor Services.
Motion to approve new business F.
See presentation?
05-2021. Should have
We
a
have a
motion.
motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Now you can do.
Motion made and seconded. Before we go into discussion or Jeff's presentation, I did remit to read one of the communications that we received in regards to this new business item. And it was from Bill Tate, and it was listed to Mr. Retzloff and the village board. This letter is a reference to my neighbor, John East. My home address is North 120, West 16355 Freistadt Road, and I lived there with my family for over 20 years. John lives directly next to us, and our properties share a large border. First and foremost, I'd like to say that John has been a great neighbor. He's been very helpful, friendly, and quiet for the entire time we've been neighbors. John operates a tree removal and stump grinding service. He has done work for us in the past, including the removal of a very large cherry tree last year. He will also be doing more work for us in the future, including the removal of several ash trees. He has always done an excellent job, and I have referred him to several friends who were also very pleased with his work. I know he has also done work for other neighbors. Although John operates a business, his work is done off-site, so it does not disturb us or the neighborhood in any way. I work from home and walk along our property line every day. I would notice if he were creating loud noises or any other issues, which he is not. As mentioned, he is quiet and a very good neighbor. Please feel free to contact me with any questions if you'd like to discuss this in more detail. And that's best regards, Bill Tate at North 120, West 16355, Freistadt Road. And then that would also go with the letter that we received from Tasha Bagley, who has asked us to deny. Mr. Retzloff, would everyone like to see the presentation, or do you want to go into discussion? Yes. You've seen it.
You already
already.
seen it at the plan commission.
All right, John East, property owner and operator of East Outdoor Services, is requesting approval of a conditional use permit. Operate his tree trimming, removal, and stump grinding service from his RS2 zoned 2.9 acre property located on Fond du Lac Avenue. Highlighted red on the screen, a couple of views. Property, both from Appleton Avenue looking to the property. As you can see, there's some screening along Appleton Avenue. It's installed.
Fond du Lac.
I'm sorry, Fond du Lac Avenue. Along with existing vegetation around the perimeter of the property. East Outdoor Services is, again, a tree trimming, removal, stump grinding service. John wanted me to stress, and I think we should, that it's not a typical landscape maintenance type business with lawn mowing equipment, nor is it a hardscape construction business with stones and boulders that we're somewhat familiar with from other similar businesses elsewhere in the village. He has a total of 4 employees. Only 2 are non-resident employees who come to the property in the morning, drop their vehicle, up the work trucks, and go off site. There is some business that's conducted at an office in Cedarburg. There's no on-site storage of materials, no on-site sales. And the sign of a business, quite frankly, is the vehicles that are kept on the property. On the side yard, a bucket truck, a chipper truck, a dump truck, and a trailer with a stump grinder on it. Staff supports the proposal with the conditions. Again, a major home occupation is allowed in an RS2 zoning district with some limitations. The business owner must live on the property, and he does. A maximum of 2 non-resident employees working from the property, and he meets that criteria. And outside storage of equipment needs to be screened, and given the location of the proposed parking on the side yard, it is screened from view, existing tree lines and that's been planted in the last couple of years on Fond du Lac Avenue. The existing business operation currently complies with the home occupation general requirements and performance criteria. And with that, the Plan Commission recommendation is to approve a conditional use permit John East and his East Services, subject to 8 conditions. Say something, John, or just respond to questions?
Trustee Baum.
So it was a nice presentation, but the one I saw was much better. At the Plan Commission meeting, we did discuss a couple of issues that have been brought up. One is the squealing tires. This property is just below the crest of Fond du Lac Avenue. So we kind of thought maybe somebody gunned it to get out when they saw a car pop over the hill. Did you happen, Mr. East, did you happen to find out who any of your employees were doing that?
Yes, I did speak with the employees. I brought that up and,
Okay. Second issue was Mr. East is actually doing work for his neighbors. And he takes his vehicles, his trailer straight across his yard to access their backyards. May appear that his equipment is in his yard and he's doing this stuff, but he's actually working on the neighbor's property, which technically would be allowed by the nature of what he's doing, because he's working off of his property. We did explain to Mr. East all the problems we've had with other landscape companies in the village, and he has been made aware of that. If he should decide to grow, he can only grow so much, and he will be limited to a home occupation requirement. So
I would, but if you don't mind, overall, working at the, it also keeps us off of traffic issues.
those are some of the additional information that we did bring up at the Plan Commission meeting to make everybody aware of some of the additional circumstances here.
Discussion. See Neureuter.
Mr. East, has this business been running previously to your coming in at this point in time? And if,
Yes.
and if so, how long?
Approximately.
And what precipitated it coming forward to this point?
Worked in manufacturing. Had interest. Had the opportunity. Course every day.
Can I ask Director Retzloff the same question?
Yes, it was a staff observation out in the field. Saw the trucks, to property. Hadn't received any complaints. It was staff. Business came across the situation.
Further discussion. Trustee Jan Miller.
I noticed that the turnaround where the trucks are stored is pretty close to your backyard where the play area is for your children. Are you going to move those trucks to the back of the lot or?
Trucks are going to stay in that turnaround. The place that is the, different set arrangement for the but as of farthest any area on my
And the vehicles don't have to be stored in a garage? So that would be the maximum amount of vehicles you would have based on home business. Thank you.
Further discussion. My question is, we received a complaint from Ms. Bagley about constantly putting wood into a wood chopper, which should be done on the site and not at the residence. I'm unable to go outside and enjoy my yard because of this noise, and it's also heard inside my home as well. The request is that it's done on the job site. Are you chipping wood on a regular basis on your property?
No, I am not doing that on my property. Again, as, if we, my property, unless there is. But bringing,
Do you store any chips or cut wood on your property?
no. No, now, now I will point out, at the, playset area, I do have some wood set and another piece. And that was built playground, not. But my son is 4, my daughter is 6. We get our stuffed sharks and we put them. It's a fun.
I've seen it on YouTube.
Okay. But those are.
Not you, but other
yeah.
people that do it.
I hope not, but those are, yeah, those are the only pieces. Fun.
Further discussion. Trustee Peeper.
So the neighbor that about the wood chipping, you were actually wood chipping your neighbor's trees that you took down.
Yeah.
So you don't bring anything back. You're actually doing work for your neighbors.
Correct.
And you're chipping it there, obviously because that's where you took down trees. I have absolutely no problem with this. I think it's awesome that you're doing what you love and you're following that and the floor is lava with the kids. Fabulous. I completely support this.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. East, for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you for answering our questions. All right, next item under new business is item G, a presentation by Samuel Dickman for TID number 8 prospects. I don't know if our village administrator wants to premise this and kind of kick it off before Mr. Dickman comes forward.
Thank you. I can give a brief introduction. Over the past month or so, staff has been working with Sam Dickman from Dickman Development on a development proposal that he is bringing forward within TID number 8. And we'll be getting some diagrams up on the screen, and Mr. Dickman will be giving us more details. The site that he's proposing is near the northwest corner of Holy Hill and Goldendale. It's the site that shares a court, Gateway Circle, with Illings Corporation. So there is some vacant site there of about 14 acres. The company that he's been working with to try to bring to this site is produces freeze-dried pet food. This would be their corporate headquarters, which would include some office, technology, marketing jobs, along with production and warehousing facilities. This would be a new business to Germantown and actually to the state. I believe it's a new corporation that's being formed and located. There is an alternate site that the business is looking at in another community in southeastern Wisconsin, and that is part of the discussion point for the village board. So I think with that background, would invite Mr. Dickman to come up or his team and provide some additional detail on the proposal.
Steve just pointed out, it's a new business. Expand. The site itself is 4 square feet. 15,000 space associated with the business. 7,000 square feet. Site itself. So access would be way off. Southern portion. Escape. As far as setback generous on that too. Specific questions.
I guess if I could just add, there's no action being requested by the village board tonight. This is the beginning of the process, but this is as oftentimes happens with these development projects, a fast-tracked proposal. Mr. Dickman requested a presentation with the village board this evening to get this information out. The community development director and the public works director are working with the developer on the site plan, and that information will be going to Plan Commission. The village attorney has been in contact with Mr. Dickman's attorney, going through issues related to the development agreement, and that will be coming forward in the near future as well.
So we're able to then ask questions about the proposal and then give any feedback or for input into it? Is that what you're looking from us from this presentation?
Yes, and we could answer any questions that you may have regarding the project.
All right, can we make sure that that microphone is on?
It's on.
Okay, good. Trustee Baum.
Can you switch to slide 2, which is the images? Okay, so what is in the upper right-hand corner looking southwest? What is the material that is on the north face and then the north end of the west face of the building? This wall here and this wall here.
The building is mainly precast painted with accents as shown. But on the north end, as part of the production process, there's going to be a large freezer. And that is going to be IMP panels, which will be painted the same color as the field color of the building. And we are introducing a couple of elements to accent that and a little bit specifically highlighting where the doors are on the back side.
Give me the layman's version of what an IMP panel is.
Insulated metal panel. It's typically used for freezers and coolers.
My biggest concern when I first saw this is I've got a giant McDonald's cooler. What is this panel actually going to look like? Is it a stippled finish, just like any other giant freezer box?
It'll be typically a steel slight stipple to it, or kind of a vertical styration that's subtle. But we've done a facility for another company similar, and we basically painted it to match the principal color of the building, and that's served well as far as appearance.
Is there a reason why I can't have a standard wall there and got to do a cooler wall?
With our discussions with the designer, the specific designers for the systems, that's the best way of doing it. You have condensation issues that occur when you put a wall up against another wall. If you're doing it small one, it's not a big deal to keep it internal. But when you have something as large as this is the ideal way to do it. We did take advantage of the fact that there's a corridor that's not a freezer environment, and incorporated the return, at least with the precast, to make an attempt at helping the transition. And then also we included a lot of landscape on the north to help screen as well, and use the highlighted accents for the entryways or exits, basically.
Okay, it's a big refrigerated box. Where's the refrigeration system going? I see a big empty roof. How big are rooftop units? Are they all going to be screened from view?
We have the parapet designed at about 5 to 6 feet on average, so that's going to be a significant screening. We are working with the refrigeration designer, who's a direct for the client, and working with them when they develop that. We're going to try to use a ground mounted system that would be in the back on the west side. Go back to the site plan. This area is a potential location for ground mounted units. Everything from this point on is not going to be, from about here, is not refrigerated or frozen. Everything from this point over is. This will have rooftop units that will be covered by the parapet. The parapet will continue all the way across here and here. If we go with the roof mounted system, then we'll provide additional screening if necessary. If we go with the ground mounted system, we would just screen at the ground portion of it to take care of the concealing of the equipment.
I would strongly recommend that you try and work with the ground mounted system, because the systems I'm accustomed to are much taller than 5 feet. And I believe our grade goes up as I go north, and people are going to be looking down on your roof, and we'll be getting calls, complaints on looking at rooftop
We're trying to push for the ground mounted system.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Is this a USDA or FDA facility? Okay. And how many employees?
Any further questions from that gentleman? He'll require a microphone. If you choose to answer, I would prefer if you come up front so that those that are watching can hear you.
Just repeat it with the microphone. Just
I
give
can
them the
just
mic.
repeat it. So the number of employees was?
150 total employees, with about 30 of it being management supervision type and 120 of it being hourly employees.
And then the answer, the other question was FDA or?
USDA.
USDA.
And it's FDA.
It would be an FDA facility for pet food manufacturing.
Okay. And is it for cats and dogs?
It is.
Awesome. I'm a cat person. Sometimes we get left out. I'm just saying.
You still have the floor if you require.
The last question is, you realize that this particular plot looks like you're landlocked.
We do have 100 feet on the south for expansion purposes.
Okay. And that would be not refrigeration, it would be
It would be
production.
more of the production area, manufacturing.
Okay.
And it would be precast around all three sides of that addition.
And do we know what company it is or not? Do we know what company this is?
For sharing.
Oh. Gotta ask.
At some point, we will be able to release it from that now.
Soon to be determined. Okay. Thank you very much.
Trustee Myers?
Hours of operation?
It will have a 24/7 operation to it, with third shift being mostly just sanitation, so it'll have minimal employees on third shift, but with the sanitation requirement to clean down equipment for the FDA guidelines and everything.
Basically speaking, it'd be first and second shift operation. Have any trucks coming in on third shift? I don't think so, because you just said maintenance, so.
Yeah, third shift again will be just clean down and wash down, so no trucks on third shift. Most trucks will be all on first shift.
Trustee Baum?
The, Mr. Dickman, the house that's being left. Talk to these neighbors, they're selling you the land, they're content with living in an industrial park. I'm curious if there's any potential for further expansion.
We'll put you on the microphone.
Take down that house.
Got to give him the microphone, please. Thank you, Mr. Dickman.
The house, I just saw that the house was listed with a broker. Understand that price that they want is realistic. Since we really don't need the house in order to develop this site, we didn't think we should pay for that. For some reason, they're unsuccessful in getting what they want. Quick deal, certainly reconsider it because we prefer not as a neighbor.
Right. Okay. And then Director Retzloff, learning what we have learned through the 2050 plan. This building is not of primary colors. It's a more subdued color palette. Do we need to talk about more articulation, more interest, more that we got out of our?
Well, certainly we would discuss those items before the plan commission, as would be our typical process. But since we're all here this evening, if you have more comments that may help guide the design and appearance, that certainly would be helpful.
Go back to something that shows the front entrance in perspective, maybe. I don't see a really good picture of that front entrance, and that's where what we've learned from our recent survey is they want that front entrance, the entry doors, dressed up and articulated more. Scroll down a little bit. There, yeah.
You can zoom in. And we could provide more focused views for the.
Yeah, and it's just too flat is what I got from this study that we sent out.
Are you looking for awnings? Are you looking for entryways? Are you looking for drive up?
I'm looking for a dimensional articulation of that wall. It's just too flat. Whether you bring out the dark brown portion, you bring that out farther so that it makes a larger canopy. Your two little canopies just appear to be too small. I think you need an additional articulation of that entryway.
Mainly in this area?
Yeah,
Dave? Okay.
in that main entry. Just east of you is residential, and they're going to be looking at this. We want to dress it up as much as we can.
Okay.
Okay.
General, everything else seems.
General.
For now, yes, I'll hit you harder at the plan commission level.
I'm hoping not.
Be prepared.
I have a couple of questions. Pet food plant, manufacturing pet food, people wonder, and a lot of people think to the olden days of stockyards and holding cattle, delivery of cattle, or whatever is the pet food was going to be made out of, or for cats, it may be some sort of fish products. Will there be any type of livestock on this site?
There is not. Everything's brought in frozen raw meat block form.
Okay. Then with that and the way that it's manufactured and processed, will there be any smells emitted?
No, unlike other pet food facilities for like kibble or even dehydrated or anything like that, there's a cook step to it and then that's exhausted. We don't have anything where freeze-dried chambers, so essentially there's no smell to it whatsoever.
Okay, and then noise, as far as the units themselves, any type of freezer units, is there any noise issues or anything that needs to be buffered?
Any of that equipment is internal to the building to keep the noise down. So we have not seen any of that type of noise issues before.
Okay, and then will there be any types of ammonia or nitrogen in large storage kept on site in tanks?
There is an ammonia refrigeration system for it. There will be one high pressure receiver for that ammonia system.
Trustee Jan Miller.
Did you say this was your corporate office?
For this specific entity of the business, yes.
Okay, so it's a division of, got it. And will there be any R&D on site?
That, I mean, as a company to be determined a little bit, my answer to you would be probably, as we continue to develop new products.
Okay, thank you very much.
Additional questions, comments? Any other additional comments I would make is thank you for bringing this opportunity to us. I always appreciate people that want to build here, that want to have their companies here. This is something new to us in regards to the type of business, being that it's in pet food. Now that I'm thinking about it out loud, what type of water usage would be required for this plant? Would you consider it a low, medium, or high water usage?
For you, I would guess we're probably going to be considered medium to high water usage for our sanitation at night.
Do you know roughly the amount of gallons you would need per day?
That is something we're still calculating. We can get that information though.
Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions if anybody else has it, but again, thank you for bringing us this opportunity and considering our business park for this plant.
Thank you.
And for your presentation. Next item, under new business, we have 4 items that are for closed session. We can take one each individually by vote and then adjourn into closed session. So we'll go with the first one, which is new business item H, Meridian Germantown LLC, Walmart Stores, Inc., claim of excessive real estate tax. The village board may convene in the closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel who is rendering advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the village with respect to litigation in which it is involved or is likely to become involved, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a request before we go into closed session to make a motion to reconsider the fire policy, sorry.
To reconsider which motion would that would have been last village board meeting?
Last village board meeting, we discussed it, voted on it.
Either resolution authorizing
Two
municipal and
people
direct
to-
charge of public fire protection.
Right, direct charge.
Your motion is to,
No, there's no motion. We have another motion on the floor that needs to be addressed.
okay. Then we'll have to wait until after this motion is first addressed, and then we can go to your motion.
Thank you.
All right, further discussion on a motion to go into closed session per item H. Roll call vote.
Trustee Baum.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller. Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Myers. Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
Trustee Pieper. President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, next motion then is the motion for reconsideration of the resolution number 18-2021, which was the authorization of municipal and direct charge of public fire protection. We have a motion requested. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion. In some regards, it still would be paying for fire protection fees versus what's been frozen at the amount. I think his point is a little bigger than that, though, in what Art was trying to bring forward.
Well, I'd
You
like
still
to
have the floor.
explore it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'd like to explore what Art has to bring.
Well, this is for a vote for reconsideration, so before any of that could be re-explored, you would have to approve, or the board would have to approve the reconsideration of this motion.
I want to talk about it again.
Okay, further discussion. Trustee Neureiter.
If the motion would go through tonight to reconsider, then that would be put on the agenda for a future meeting, for the next meeting. It would
Yeah.
not be acted on tonight.
That is correct. That would be at the next village board meeting.
What, understand that. Then what additional information? I know how we batted it around quite a bit last 2 weeks ago, I think, was it? And finally came down to the motion that we did. So where is additional, and I heard some of what Art said tonight, where's some of that, where's really all the additional information going to come forward for between now and next meeting? I guess I'd be curious. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I can provide some additional information and clarification. Yes, to some I can provide right now very quickly. I guess if there are other questions that the village board has, I would ask what those are so that we could bring those back. To clarify some of the information that was on the handout that was provided, the water utility does pay an annual payment in lieu of taxes to the village. That is the concept behind that payment in lieu of taxes is that there are the water utility ratepayers and the property taxpayers are not, they overlap in many cases, but there are differences between those two groups. The village does forego property taxes from private property owners for the land that the water utility owns and uses for water production and distribution. So that payment in lieu of taxes is set up through the rules from the Public Service Commission to make the taxpayers whole for the loss of that tax revenue. Again, the public fire protection fee, and just to clarify in case there was any confusion from the information that was presented, it does not cover the cost of responding to fires. It does not recover the cost of the firefighters or the fire trucks or the hoses or any of that equipment. It is calculated by the PSC to recover the costs of the hydrants and the distribution systems that are related to fire protection. So, and again, some communities choose to recover that through property taxes and spread that over all of the community, whether those residents live by the fire hydrants and that infrastructure itself. Other communities choose to place that on the utility bill and direct bill that. And just for those who might be listening, what the village board decided at the previous meeting was to cap the property tax portion of that public fire protection fee at $537,000 and approximately, and then place any future increases directly on the water utility bill.
Further discussion. Trustee Baum.
there was a portion of the discussion that was around, if we do this, we have the most flexibility in our budget. Refresh me on that.
Yes, the increased amount for the public fire protection fee that is associated with the rate review that the PSC is currently underway would consume, that would increase that that fee to, I believe, approximately $600,000 next year, and then in another 2 years, it would increase it to about $600,000 next year, and then with an additional increase above and beyond that in 2 years. We did present alternatives of shifting some of the $537,000 onto the public fire, onto the utility bill. That was not approved by the village board. That was, and we showed some alternatives where shifting 75% over would have resulted in $15 being added on quarterly water bills. That was not accepted. That would have created some flexibility, as one of the other citizens speaking earlier tonight had talked about, to add staff in public safety, the firefighters, et cetera. This capping it basically protects some of the flexibility for the budget, for the village board in the 2022 budget process. That increase in the PFP, if it's put on the property tax, is going to consume a lot of the levy limit that's available to the village board. I don't have a specific dollar amount to what that levy limit is, but I guess would be anywhere from a third to half of what's available. And then I guess the other piece of information, just off of the top of my head, the impact on the quarterly utility bill is going to be in the $2 to $3 range per quarter that people would see put on their water bill when they get it every 3 months.
So if we were to choose the 75% option, we would have gotten more money available for police and fire department.
Correct.
And we chose an option that was mid-range.
I would say what the village board I would characterize is they took the minimum, the minimum action possible with taking action, where you froze the $537,000 at that current rate, and all that you did for an action was prevent the increases from going on the property tax bill. So I think I would characterize that as being the minimum possible shift onto the water utility bill.
Anything more than that failed. There was motion for more that you made, and that failed. Jan Miller, I think we're a little bit outside of the request of reconsideration.
This was a motion to like reconsider, so let's, obviously
Reconsider.
there's a lot of conversation. Agenda to read.
No, it's more of a refresher of what was discussed, not new business, not new information.
And the only other thing I'd like to bring up was the chart that Steve had and Brian made the comment. It was about the other local municipalities and how they charge for the PFP. Brian, weren't most of the choices, or Steve, either the municipality had everything for the PFP on the water bill, or it was on the tax bill. Is that correct? Yes, but there weren't any hybrids like we've been.
We didn't have that, a complete set of information. There were 7 who include, out of the 14, there were 7 who include the PFP on a direct bill on their water utility bill. We were following up to determine there were any hybrids. We don't have that completed yet. I believe 3 or 4 responded back, and none of those were hybrids.
And Brian, what was the reason behind you doing one or the other. Either.
I mean, it's policy choice is what it is. There's no legal issues in terms of, I think a hybrid is perfectly legal. The statutes and the PSC rules.
But they could change. The rules could change, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always true, I guess.
But it doesn't lock us into this. If the rules change, then we would just change it to whatever would be the choice at that time.
I
You're
think
not
it's,
part of reconsideration, so I don't need to bring you forward. No, no, no.
the only,
Don't vote as part of reconsideration. Otherwise, if it was part of the discussion of, absolutely, but you do not have a vote in reconsideration. No? Oh, Art, no.
there are two people that we're talking about being equitable. And if we keep it on the tax bill, then it will be equitable. I think that's big consideration for a lot
Depends
of
on your
reasons.
point of view. You could say that way, and other people would say that you're paying for something you're not getting. I mean, you see it on both sides.
Correct.
Further discussion on the motion for reconsideration. Trustee Myers,
What we actually passed in the end, was that your recommendation to the board, Steve?
I'm trying to, my recommendation at the last meeting was initially that the board transfer the 75% to the water utility bill. And when that failed, my recommendation to the village board was that they freeze the levy amount at $537,000 in order to maintain some flexibility in the 2022 budget.
that failed. Further discussion, motion to reconsider. Further discussion? Do roll call vote, please.
Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Pieper, trustee Baum, trustee Kaminsky, trustee Rick Miller,
Nay.
trustee Myers,
No.
trustee Nightrider,
No.
President Walter.
Nay.
Motion fails. 3R.
Back to new business. New business, item I, intergovernmental agreement with Germantown School District for school resource officers. The village board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1, subparagraph E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Pieper, trustee Kaminsky, trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller, trustee Myers,
Aye.
trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
New business item J, Germantown Professional Police Association Local 306 Collective Bargaining Contract and International Association of Firefighters Local 4854. The village board may convene in the closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1 subparagraph E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the contract or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and may convene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Pieper, trustee Kaminsky, trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Myers,
Aye.
trustee Nightrider,
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye. Last item under new business is item K, Village of Richfield Potential Water and Sewer Service Agreement. Village Board may enter into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.85 subsection 1, subparagraph E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate.
Motion to go into closed session.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Needs to be in all these closed sessions.
On item H, we have Jason Gehring from our legal firm representing us in the Meridian lawsuit. Under items I, J, and K, I guess I would just say that the appropriate village staff must be included, including the village clerk, the village attorney, support services manager, and DPW staff.
Including item J?
That one, I guess we don't need the DPW staff, but the support services manager.
Okay. Item K, did we do roll call?
Not yet.
All right, roll call vote.
Trustee Baum.
Aye.
Trustee Pieper. Trustee Kaminsky. Trustee Jan Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller. Trustee Myers.
Aye.
Trustee Nightrider.
Aye.
President Walter.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right,
Make a
next,
motion to go out of order.
you can take them out of order so that other people can leave, and then the HR director would be the last one to stay. Rather than shuffle people in and out, go
Yeah,
out
that's
for
what
this
I'm
one, go in for this one.
Trying to do, so
can.
which one would be the best to take first? And
He's on the dole. Not that he wouldn't mind staying another hour.
make a motion to go to H first.
Second.
Okay, well, H would be next, but that's fine. You want to give me a consecutive order?
Intergovernmental school board. Who do we need for school board? That last.
All right,
Okay, that's the order I recommend.
all right then. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, then before we adjourn into closed session, the next regular village board meeting will be on Monday, August 16th at 7 PM. And then there's a tentative joint village board and school board meeting scheduled for August 30th. And there will not be a village board meeting on September 6th. So with that, then we will adjourn into closed session. After several minutes, turn your microphones off. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.